Hello, and welcome to Kurth Memorial Library's Story Time. I'm Miss Beth, and our story this time is The Two Sisters. Once upon a time, there were two sisters who were as like each other as two peas in a pod. But one was good, and the other was bad-tempered. Now their father had no work, so the girls began to think of getting a job. "I will go first and see what I can make of it," said the younger sister, ever so cheerfully. "Then you, sis, can follow if I have good luck." So she packed up a bundle, said goodbye, and she went on her way. And as she journeyed, she came upon an oven in which a lot of loaves were baking. Now as she passed, the loaves cried out with one voice, little girl, take us out. Please take us out. We have been baking for 7 years and no one has come to take us out. Do take us out or we shall soon be burnt." Then, being a kind, obliging little girl, she stopped, put down her bundle, took out the bread, and went on her way, saying, "You will be more comfortable now." After a time, she came to a cow lowing beside an empty pail, and the cow said to her, little girl, milk me, please milk me. 7 years have I been waiting, and no one has come to milk me." So the kind girl stopped, put down her bundle, milked the cow into the pail, and went on her way, saying, "Now you will be more comfortable." By and by, she came to an apple tree so laden with fruit that its branches were about to break, and the apple tree called to her, little girl, please shake my branches. The fruit is so heavy I can't stand straight." Then the kind girl stopped, put down her bundle, and shook the branches so that the apples fell off and the tree could stand straight. Then she went on her way, saying, "You will be more comfortable now." So she journeyed on till she came to a house where an old ogre lived. Now this ogre wanted a servant maid and promised good wages. Therefore the girl agreed to stop and try to see how she liked service. She had to sweep the floor, keep the house clean and tidy, the fire bright and cheery. But there was one thing the ogre said she must never do, and that was look up the chimney. "If you do," said the ogre, "something will fall down on you and you will come to a bad end." Well, the girl swept and dusted and made up the fire, but the ogre never paid her. Now the girl wanted to go home, as she did not like ogre service, but she did not like to go home penniless, so she stayed on, sweeping and dusting and doing her work just as if she was pleased. Then one day, as she was sweeping up the hearth, down tumbled some soot, and without remembering she was forbidden to look up the chimney, she looked up to see where the soot had come from. And lo and behold, a big bag of gold fell plump into her lap. Now the ogre happened to be out on one of its ogre errands, so the little girl thought it a fine opportunity to be off home. So she held up her skirts and started to run home, but she had only gone a little way when she heard the ogre coming after her. Now the apple tree she had helped to stand up straight happened to be quite close, so she ran to it and cried, apple tree, hide me so the old ogre can't find me. For if it does, it'll pick my bones and bury me under the garden stones." Then the apple tree said, "Of course I will. You helped me to stand straight, and one good turn deserves another." So the apple tree hid her finely in its green branches, and when the ogre rushed past, saying, tree of mine, have you seen my naughty little maid with a willy wag and a great big bag? She's stolen my money, all I had." The apple tree answered, "No, ogre, not for 7 years." So the ogre rushed on the wrong way, and the girl got down, thanked the tree politely and started again. But just as she got to where the cow was standing beside the pail, she heard the ogre coming again. So she ran to the cow and cried, "Cow, cow, please hide me so the old ogre can't find me. If it does, it'll pick my bones and bury me under the garden stones." "Certainly I will," answered the cow. "Didn't you milk me and make me comfortable? Hide yourself behind me and you'll be quite safe." And when the ogre rushed by and called to the cow, "Oh, cow of mine, have you seen my naughty little maid with a willy wag and a great big bag, who stole my money, all that I had?" She just said politely, "No, ogre dear, not for 7 years." Then the old ogre went on in the wrong direction, and the girl started afresh on her way home. But just as she got to where the oven stood, she heard that horrid old ogre coming behind her again. So she ran as fast as she could to the oven and cried, "Oh, oven, oven, hide me so as the ogre can't find me. For if it does, it'll pick my bones and bury them under the garden stones." Then the oven said, "I am afraid there is no room for you, as another batch of bread is baking. But there is the baker, ask him." So she asked the baker, and he said, "Of course I will. You saved my last batch from being burnt. So run into the bakehouse. You will be quite safe there, and I will settle the ogre for you." So she hid in the bakehouse, only just in time, for there was the old ogre calling angrily, "Oh, man of mine, have you seen my naughty little maid with a willy wag and a great big bag, who stole my money, all I had?" Then the baker replied, "Look in the oven, she may be there." And the ogre bent down and peered into the oven, but it could see no one. "Creep in and look in the farthest corner," said the baker slyly. And the ogre crept in when, bang, he shut the door in its face, and when it came out with the bread, the ogre was all crisp and brown and had to go home as best it could and put cold cream all over. But the kind, obliging little girl got safe home with her bag of money. Now the ill-tempered elder sister was very jealous of this good luck and determined to get a bag of gold for herself. So she, in her turn, packed up a bundle and started to seek service by the same road. But when she came to the oven, and the loaves begged her to take them out, and because they had been baking 7 years and were nigh to burning, she tossed her head and said, "A likely story indeed that I should burn my fingers to save your crusts. No, thank you." And with that, she went on till she came across the cow standing, waiting to be milked beside the pail. But when the cow said, little girl, milk me, please milk me. I've waited 7 years to be milked," she only laughed and replied, "You may wait another 7 years for all I care. I'm not your dairy maid." And with that, she went on till she came to the apple tree, all overburdened by its fruit. But when it begged her to shake its branches, she only giggled and, plucking one ripe apple, said, "One is enough for me. You can keep the rest yourself." And with that, she went on munching the apple until she came to the ogre's house. Now the ogre, though it had got over being crisp and brown from the oven, was dreadfully angry with all little servant maids, and made up its mind it would not be tricked again. So for a long time it never went out of the house. Thus the ill-tempered sister never had a chance of looking up the chimney, as she had meant to do at once. And she had to dust and clean and brush and sweep ever so hard until she was quite tired out. But one day when the ogre went into the garden to bury some bones, she seized the moment, looked up the chimney, and sure enough, a bag of gold fell plump into her lap. Well, she was off with it in a moment and ran till she came to the apple tree, when she heard the ogre behind her. So she cried as her sister had done, apple tree, hide me so the old ogre can't find me, for if it does, it'll break my bones and bury me under the garden stones." But the apple tree said, "No room here, I've too many apples." So she had to run on, and when the ogre came rushing by and called, "Oh, tree of mine, have you seen a naughty little maid with a willy wag and a great big bag who's stolen my money, all I had?" The apple tree replied, "Yes, ogre dear, she's gone down there." Then the ogre went after her, caught her, gave her a thorough good beating, took the bag of money away from her, and sent her home without a penny payment for all her dusting, sweeping, brushing, and cleaning. I hope you enjoyed our story today, and I hope to see you next time at Kurth Memorial Library's Story Time.